Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome in to another founder story. We've got the incredible Fitz Light here today to talk us through his story and how he's building out FlightSuite.ai. Fitz, welcome in. Thank you so much for being here today. Let's just get into this right away, right? Take us back to the beginning. Tell us the story. Who is Fitz?
Yes, so Fitz Light. I was originally born in Jacksonville, Florida, graduated high school at 16, graduated college at 18, went to do my master's in finance at Vanderbilt University. And then after leaving Vanderbilt University, I went to Charlotte for investment banking. I didn't really enjoy investment banking that much, ended up in private equity, which was investment banking 2.0. And then I found my home in more so on the venture capital side at AngelList. There I was able to work with a lot of just different emerging venture capital funds, but also talk with founders. I was able to start seeing this wave of AI coming. I still remember the first time someone told me about ChatGPT. They were telling me everything that it could do. I was like, yeah, right. No, it can't do that. And then I typed in one prompt and it gave me a full message. And I just remember saying like, oh, wow, this is going to be big. So since then, I saw a couple companies coming through, getting founded. At that point, I always had an entrepreneur spirit, wanted to think about how I could possibly work with AI and in what fashion. I think you see a lot of companies that are using AI for more so the creative entertainment side of things in terms of making videos and creating captions and XYZ. And I wanted to be much more of a practical use. I wanted something that would kind of be of use foreseeable in the next 5 years or, around for the next 10 years. And that's when I was more so trying to think about, okay, well, who are my contacts? What could I possibly think about? I was using HubSpot at this time. I think I told you about that, Steve. And trying to use HubSpot, I was just like, how do I use HubSpot? And then it was like, okay, wait. So with HubSpot, I have to then take all the information that I have and then put it into HubSpot for me to actually use HubSpot. And I was like, okay, that just sounds a little bit inefficient. And then I was thinking, well, I guess when I think about AI, the big use for AI would be with, these smaller to mid-sized teams. So teams where it's about 1 to maybe 10 people on the team, but you're servicing 25 to 200 customers or 200 clients. And at that point, then it becomes down to the sense of an entrepreneur really doesn't have time a small firm doesn't have time to take all this client data, put it into a system that they can then use to automate and make their life a lot easier. So that was the initial idea of FlightSuite. That's where it all started at. And then now we're just more so expanding out the capabilities with the core concept of being, we want to automate that sales and marketing component, especially when it comes to that CRM side of things.
Yeah, I love that so much. It speaks to me. Actually, as a user of HubSpot, I've had this similar kind of experience, right? Where I love what you said in your notes about the time that's spent kind of like working with it to a point where you're thinking, wow, I'm spending so much time working the platform and not trying to actually build and grow my business, which is what I'm here to do. Within the global venture network, we've just had to like rehire a consultant to help us with HubSpot. It's at that level.
I can't tell you a number of times that I hear that, where it's like, hey, I literally just had to hire someone to build out my HubSpot. And then what I always hear after that is like, okay, you hired this person to build out your HubSpot, then what happened? And then the CEO is like, oh, well, then they gave it to me. Now I have no idea how to use it. It's like, okay, so that's great.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great system then, right?
And I think that's what I love about, what you've caught onto here is that it's that use case that everyone's feeling this pain point, but it takes that entrepreneurial mindset to be like, well, hang on a minute. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to work this way. We can change it. So okay. Give me a little bit more detail about FlightSuite. I'm excited here. I hear a disruptor and I want to know more about what this actually is and what it can do.
Okay, so I say the first level of FlightSuite comes down to that data capture period. So rather it's coming in from an inbound lead, let's say someone goes to your website, they fill out a form, and then now what happens? I'll say for most business owners, they fill out a form, it goes to a purgatory of black boxes, and it's like, okay, I might hear back from this person. You might get a confirmation message that say, hey, we received your message, but then it's like, okay, what happens next? And that's the point of where we want to, I guess, help out with entrepreneurs. So first, we're taking that information, we're putting it directly into your CRM, and then that can drop people directly into different automation sequences. that then, go into your pipeline and then carry out the responsibility. So I would say a prime example, which is funny, I think it's more recently, I was testing out CPA response times, and I would say the average response time that we got back from our CPA was 3 days. That's the average amount of time it took back for us to get an actual response back from the CPA. And I remember when I submitted the forms for about 127 firms, and then I came back the next day that my inbox was empty. I was like, wait, this can't be right. I was like, is this actually working? And so then I submitted it. So then I waited another day, came back, and I was like, okay, it has to be working. And so I sent the email to myself as a test email. It came through, and then maybe 3 days later, I started getting emails coming in from different CPAs, and I'm just like, wow, like this lag period right here of 3 days is someone else's opportunity. Like I think how Jeff Bezos said, your margin is my opportunity. Your relaxation, your lapse is my opportunity. And that's where we really help out from. And then at that point, once we integrate that data capture part, when it comes to APIs and webhooks, Flight Suite excels at that. So if you want the data to go into your Slack, or you want it to go into your backend system, or you want it to go in terms of notifying your team, that's where the team really builds it out, and we put in those connections so that it's very simple for the entrepreneur to use or for the business owner to use. And it just makes everything more integrated. You have a lot of businesses that have these separate systems that don't really work together, and we more so come in as that bridge layer between that data capture side to your backend system, and then messaging the client back again.
I love it. One of the things I love about what I do is you get to this point where the founder is telling you about what they're doing, and you're sitting there thinking, oh, this is obvious. Why has no one thought about this? Why is no one doing this yet? You scared the hell out of me. 3 days for a response. I feel like I need to go and check our systems immediately to figure out what's going on with ours as well. But 3 days, that's not even. I love the Bezos quote there. But in this day and age, it's funny. What's coming up for me is we're still at a point where we get people knocking on our doors to sell us stuff, and that's I truly appreciate the hustle. And in this day and age, I'm not going to open my door and just accept, yes, you're going to give me new windows, let's go. Like, I'm going to do my research, right? I'm going to work out where I'm going to get the best deal, the best quality. Right. And I'm not going to wait 3 days for people to get back to me on that. Like, I'm finding out that information immediately. So like anyone that's in that 3 day window, they're not even in the running. They're not even in the game. Wow.
I guess when the whole industry takes 3 days, maybe so, at this point, because I'm just like, well, if it takes you 1 day, like you're already, beating this group right here. And so, I just think that's very interesting. On the opposite side of it, I get it though. I get it as a emerging, company scaling right now as a CEO, there's a million things that you have to do. And I can tell you the very last thing that you want to do after a 15, 16-hour day is open up your inbox and then respond back to a possibility. That's just not something that's top of your agenda when you're looking at 10 other fires that you have to put out at the same time.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I feel like that's a very nice segue into, you as a person, building out Flight Suite. Talk to us a little bit about that. Talk to us about what you're learning, right? What you're discovering. The journey is still fairly new, right? So talk to us about that. What are your learnings so far as you're going through this experience?
Yeah, so I will say, being or creating a startup is definitely just like a accelerated MBA. I highly see that now. So we started back in February, and that first month, I would say month number 1 is more so just getting your bearings. You're having to hit the ground prospecting in terms of just going out to networking meetings. You're trying to get the first 5 to 10 clients so you can actually have that group, that cohort to actually help you build the product. Now, month 2 to month 3, I found the first customers. They're on the platform now, but then I learned another really big, important lesson as a founder. Selling this, when you're doing a SaaS or a service product, making that sell is one thing. Now you have to actually do the fulfillment side and the onboarding side. And that became like, okay, all right. So now I'm onboarding people. I'm doing the fulfillment. yet I still have to go out and find more customers to sell. And it was getting to a point where it's like, okay, so now I'm onboarding, I'm doing fulfillment. I have people that's using the platform now, but now people are asking me questions about different things in the platform. So it's like, okay, now I really don't have any time to go out and sell because now I'm asking questions. And so then it became down to I need to think through onboarding channel of like getting that figured out. I need to think through a fulfillment side of things and also have a support side of things just so I have the infrastructure to scale. I think at the time I heard a quote, if you get 10 more customers and your workload increases by 10 times, that's not a business, that's a job. And so it came down to the sense of I need to have the right infrastructure so that I can scale and not increase my workload exponentially at the same time. So that was the lesson up until maybe month 5 of getting things in place. Then after that, it was like, okay, now the infrastructure is in place. Now I need the funnel of actually having people come in. Now, I think if you talk to any entrepreneur, if you ask them what's their number one problem, they'll probably all say, I need more leads. And so it's like, okay, how do we start drumming up these more leads? What are some other ways of what we could do? And that's why in Flight Suite, so we also have prospecting AI. That's one of the tools inside of Flight Suite. And that's been super helpful just in terms of getting a database of leads and knowing who to contact and, you know, what to say, it'll also create the messages, et cetera, in terms of automate and sending those out. But then I guess the last part, which I'm currently kind of getting over that phase now, and I'm not sure what the next phase is because as an entrepreneur, you never know. But then it comes down to, okay, now I need to create the sales role and like the kind of the sales channel. Because one thing I would say, I hate, or as a CEO, I would hate when a person books a demo. They respond back to my message that says that, hey, yes, I'm going to be on the demo. And then the time comes for the demo and they are not there. And it's just like, it's 8 p.m. right now. The only reason why my laptop's even open is because I was waiting for this call.
Yeah.
I was waiting so I could go somewhere else. And
Yeah.
you tell me that you can't even make it. You want to push till tomorrow. But as an entrepreneur, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. We can push till tomorrow. But now my time is just wasted. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I need to get someone else in the spot.
I get the frustration. Like I'm sitting here, jacket on, tie done up. I'm ready for you. Let's go. I've done my hair. We're ready to rock and roll. Let's show you this thing. Just no. For me, it's like I'm big on integrity, right? So the two concepts there are keeping your word and honoring your word, right? And there's times where life happens. You can't keep your word. You can't make the demo. Fine, but you can honor your word by sending a message saying, "Hey, I can't make it. I'm so sorry. Can we reschedule?" Like, great, no problem. Life happens. Like, let me know. Show the respect to do that. Oh, you've sent me off on one, Fitz. I need to rein it in.
Yeah, trust me. No, trust me. Like there's that period, and I will say working. So Facebook leads, that's what you're working with when you get Facebook leads. It's a good percentage, or it's going to be no shows, and you just have to get comfortable with a person not showing up. But it also gets you very comfortable with dialing. Like if at that point I already paid for this lead, I'm going to get my money's worth out of this lead. So I can't tell you right now. I have one of my account managers. He's going through like 150 leads that I got back in August. And I'm like, hey, call them 2 times a day. Yeah. And we're just going to keep it going for a week. And then we'll go back to the leads that we got the month before that, call them 2 times a day. And I mean, it works though, you know, eventually a person answers. They're like, oh yeah, I do remember that service. Or they respond back to one of the text messages. Oh yeah, I was going to do that. Can I book an appointment? And then it works. So the money's always in the follow-up. AI helps with that.
Of course. No, I love that. So as you're building out your team, talk to me a little bit about, you know, as the CEO, as the founder, you know, you have the passion for the product in a way that can sometimes be difficult to try and instill in your team, right? So like how are you getting the team passionate about what you're building and communicating that passion?
Yes, so I will say one good thing or not one, but because there's a lot of good things that gBeta has taught me about. gBeta is one of the accelerators I joined in Charlotte, and they said like within the first meeting, you should have your KPIs, you should have your metrics, but you should go over these KPIs with your team every Monday and just be very transparent with why you're trying to hit these metrics, what these metrics actually achieve. And so that's what I've started doing in terms of, hey guys, here's Monday, here's our KPI, here's our MRR goal, here's what we want to do in terms of prospecting this week, here's how we're going to decrease our acquisition costs. This is like while I'm asking you to make these calls so that we can decrease our acquisition costs. And it more so just starts tying like these different activities to actual tangible metrics that the team can actually get behind. And then also being able to, when relevant, being able to assign out these metrics. So for example, in terms of sales, it's like, okay, well, how many calls did we make last week? How many of those calls were actually picked up? And then what did you say on these calls? And then having my account manager now, like in the Monday morning meetings, he'll let me know, like, okay, yeah, so last week I did X amount of calls, this how many people picked up. And now he's starting to say, what I'm planning to do next week, I want to do this instead. So that way I start getting a higher conversion rate. Or he'll start thinking about like, okay, I know what the overall goal is. So now I can make these tweaks to get us to these goals, as opposed to just doing the task and not know why. Like you're doing the task. So I would say that's the first step. And then the second step, I learned a lesson where I initially hired 2 people. It's like you can't, or what was the quote? You can't, a leader isn't defined by the bad hires that it makes or like the bad decisions, but you are defined by how long you stick with the bad decision. And so it was more so in the case of this isn't working out, not as a fault to that person at all. It was just, this is AI, still a very new concept. It's still a lot of new things that you just have to learn on a daily basis. And, not everyone was cut out for it. So it's just being able to make that decision early, as opposed to going 1 month, 2 months, 3 months down the line with the person in the role that I know just wasn't cutting it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that concept of giving the team agency to, steer the ship a little bit. Like, where are you going to go with this? Where do you want to take this? What's your goal? What's your dream? What's your vision here for where you can take this and where it can go? I think that ties in, a lot with what you talk about in terms of, your mindset as an entrepreneur. You kind of like got to get yourself in check before you start building. But can you tell me a little bit about that as a concept?
Yes. So I think one of the biggest things overall, in order to build the company that you want to build, like everyone says they want to be an entrepreneur nowadays. Everyone says that they want to be a startup. But Steve, to tell you the truth, only 5%, maybe even 1% of those people actually want to put in the work to accomplish and do what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Not because it's hard to be an entrepreneur. You just have to be disciplined. And when I say discipline, it's like the same day in and day out of doing the same activity that maybe hasn't bared any results right now, but you're still doing it anyway, just because you know what the potential outcome is. And most people, after you have to hit that 2 a.m., 3 a.m. night, 4 days in a row, you're like, actually, what am I doing this for? Or, you start saying when you start saying to yourself, I would say, what was it? Jocko Willink in his book of Extreme Ownership, being able to take that extreme ownership of something and know like, hey, if this doesn't get done, it's not my team's fault. It's my fault, because there is something that there was a misalignment somewhere. Rather, maybe I didn't explain it correctly. Maybe I didn't give them the right tools to do what they did. Maybe I didn't lay out the instructions clearly. If it didn't get done right, it's my fault. And how can I improve so that it's done correctly? And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, just being extra vigilant, being extra disciplined, and just being willing to work.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I feel like you've set yourself up now for the natural follow-on question, which is like, have you got an example of that? Like a real life example where you feel like actually you've dropped the ball and you've needed to make a change? Like give me an example if you've got one.
Yes. Oh, I mean, so many. So I will say right now, a lot of my support staff is in the Philippines, just because it's easier for, entrepreneur, especially when it comes to just 24/7 support staff. And what I had to learn is I can't necessarily just say like, hey, Steve, can you help this customer with this? Just because there's the language barrier. There's also that knowledge barrier of like, not this person doesn't necessarily know the customer like how I know the customer. So the message of what you send the customer is like, hey, I heard you need help. And then you have no context. So then it came down to, okay, actually, let's take a step back here. Let's give you some context on, let's come up with like a very standard template of, hey, here's the context of the situation. Here's the problem that this person is having. And here's how I want you to respond to this person to fix the problem. I think that last part is that's probably like the crucial part of giving that person, or just giving a person guidance on how you want them to respond. I think it's a lot of people use ChatGPT, right? And they'll say, write me something. And ChatGPT will write you something. But if you don't give it guidance on how it should write it, then you can't be mad if it's not the way how you want it to be.
Absolutely, especially if as a customer you're receiving a response that's got the MC dashes in, and you're like, come on.
Oh, I hate the M dashes, man. Oh man, I hate those. Like, as much as I tell it to like remove, I'm like, never use this character ever again.
Yeah, stop it. But no, I get it. I love that. Okay. I've got so many questions, and time is ticking. Can you remember the specific point when you realized that you had a business with Flight Suite? Like, can you remember that moment of thinking, oh, this is something. This is going to take the next 10 years of my life?
Honestly, so it's funny that you say that, because I feel like every 2 months I have another kind of, I don't know, I guess evolution of coming into, I guess, myself. As I told you, just like creating the business you want, you have to become the person first that can create that business. And each 2 months I'll notice myself doing that. So I think the first evolution, so I told you I started in February. That was me just kind of, hey, we're just going to throw things at the wall. We're going to see what sticks. And then I would say around April is when I went full time with Flight Suite. And so that was like, actually, okay, I see something here. I talked to a lot of individual or business owners, and they're telling me like, okay, this system could be very helpful for what they're doing. Now it's like, okay, now I just have to find the right messaging and then the right angles. So then I would say the next evolution was setting up the funnel of having, now I have inbound traffic coming in. I think that's a big stage for a business owner, because now you're not the one that's going out to search for people. People are coming to you actually. And then you have to refine your sales skills. And then I think the most recent evolution is because now we're starting to work on this version of Flight Suite. And I guess the high level idea is, in terms of a CRM, like, do you need a dashboard, Steve? Like, do we need a dashboard anymore? Do you actually need to log into your CRM to be able to get the information that you want from your CRM? Yeah. And so we're coming up with a browser extension that will be able to sit on top of any CRM system. And so, HubSpot, Zoho, Salesforce, go high level, and you'll be able to, just type to us if you're typing to ChatGPT, hey, did I get any new leads today? Yes, you got these new leads. Do you want to send a follow-up message or drop them in an automation sequence? You can say, yes, go ahead, send them a follow-up message or put them in an automation sequence. Or you can say, hey, pull up my pipeline. It pulls up your pipeline. Okay, you have these leads in this category, these leads in this category. Should we adjust or update anything? Or you could be like, hey, draft an email, or hey, send a calendar invite to Steve at 2 p.m. And, it sends a calendar invite, puts it in your CRM, triggers the automations, good to go. So it was like, we're at that point now where, honestly, like we were talking about the issue of using HubSpot, and what if we just cut that out where you didn't have to, like, there is no user guide to, I guess, using ChatGPT. It's like, you use it, there's a user guide to how to use it right, but there is no user guide to how to use ChatGPT.
Yeah, no, totally. I feel like if you purely focus on the aspect of finding the pipeline in HubSpot, you would save so much time. It's already just paid for itself. I mean, absolutely. Like going in and trying to find, where did this live? Where did this go? Where's this? Where's that under? And I feel like as well, and I feel like this might be fairly standard for small teams, but the notion of everyone becomes a super admin on the platform, right? Because everyone needs to be doing certain things that only a super admin can do. So you've got a team of super admins changing properties and doing things.
And no one's a super admin.
Like, if everyone's a super admin, no one's a super admin. And that's exactly kind of the problem, right? So in that world where you don't even have to be kind of going in there, the AI, you are the super admin. You just tell me what to do. I mean, it's kind of cool. I love that. But okay. So I know it's still only early days, but has there been a moment where you thought, this is too much, this is too hard? Have you had that kind of experience
Oh,
yet?
every day, man. Every day. I swear, I don't know what it is, especially on days like I'll let you know. Like today, I have not had a chance to eat yet, just because
Oh
I've
my
been from like
goodness.
meeting to meeting to meeting. And it'll be days where, it's like maybe 5 o'clock. I'm finally eating, I guess, breakfast, lunch, whatever you want to call it. And as I'm sitting there on the couch, because I want to use that 30 minutes of just like solitude time. Sometimes I have to just go take a shower. I'm just like, let me just take a shower, refresh, and then let's start like part two of the day. Like, let's keep it going, because I guess one of my friends actually told me I need to start putting a time limit on how much I work. So I try to end each day by 12 a.m. So that way I can wake up at 7 a.m. to do it all over again.
Oh my goodness. Fitz, I don't suppose you don't have kids yet, right?
No, no kids yet. No kids yet.
That's a great forcing mechanism. That'll do it for you. Trust me. Just put a kid in the mix. That'll absolutely do it for you.
Man, I would have like I usually don't have anxiety. I rarely have anxiety or like
Yeah.
stress. However, my brain does not stop. And so at 9 p.m. I would be in bed and I would just be like, I could start that email sequence for tomorrow. Or I'm like, actually, did I send out that email? Let me go check one time. And then I'll
Yeah.
open up the computer and then I'm back on it for another hour and a half.
Do you do that thing where you wake up like 3 a.m., middle of the night, your brain starts working, and then you have to get up and go and do that email sequence or whatever it may be? Or do you actually manage to sleep through?
Oh, so actually, I mean, I will say for probably the last 2 months, I've been sleeping like a baby all the way
Oh,
through. I get whiteboards, so I have like these little whiteboards all around my house. And when I do wake up, I just jot it down, go right back to sleep. And when I tell you, it's so peaceful. It is so
oh,
peaceful because I don't have to worry about anything. I have whiteboards all
oh,
over.
I love that. Top tip. Top tip. Get a whiteboard next to the bed. I should probably do that. To me, I'm awful. I'll wake up at like 3 a.m., start thinking about something. I'm like, uh-oh, that's it,
Yeah,
right? Night's over. I
time
might
to
as well just get up and
go.
start working now and just be absolute mush the whole day the next day. But I love that. I love that we've just come up with a top tip for the founders here. Okay. So we mentioned about gBeta, and you're talking about the value of those KPIs and setting those and sharing those with the team. Is there anything else that's kind of like stood out for you with the gBeta experience so far? I know it's still early.
Yeah, so I think probably I'll say the top three things. A is just going to be the community aspect. So I'm in it along with 4 other companies. I love that it's only 5 of us in total, so it's enough time for us to get that one-on-one personalized, instructions with the different mentors and the different advisors. But at the same time, be able to talk to each other and see how we could help each other out. Like, hey, what are you doing? How is your prospecting going? What type of email campaigns are you running? Maybe I could start running those as well. I think the second area of how it's very helpful, the mentors. I think that's where gBeta truly excels at. I want to say so far we've probably spoken to 15 mentors that we've just kind of seen that came through Charlotte. But then also at the same time, there's a lookbook of about, I don't know, maybe 200, 300 different people. So I have just 20 or calendar invites for next week of just talking with different mentors that are specialists in paid marketing, that are specialists in go-to-market, that are specialists in branding, and just like these different aspects. I actually found my developers that's working on this web extension through one of the mentors. So they had connected me with developers that they use. So I think it's great to have that aspect. And then lastly, I think the framing of it is you start thinking about your business as an actual business. And you asked that question before, but when did you start thinking about it as an actual business? Like I thought about it before as an actual business, but now I'm thinking about it as an actual, I guess you could say, scaling company. Because when you're reviewing those KPIs on a weekly basis, you're writing like those investor updates, but then you're also having that accountability meeting of like, hey, what's your KPI? Okay. And then, all right, what progress have you had this week? Why did you miss your KPI? what can you do better next week so that you hit your KPI? Just having like that, as simple as that is, but having that accountability that you're sticking on week over week, that's what compounds so that you can get to that next level. And I'll say for the last 3 weeks, we've been growing pretty quickly. So
yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I love especially that the distinction of getting to like a business versus something that can actually scale, and getting to that point where you have that realization of, oh, this can actually, I can scale this. I'm not just starting a business. I'm not, as great as that is to make your, I don't know, a non-scalable business, as great as that is, to get to that kind of like realization and that point of actually this could grow and expand and actually, hey, one day, maybe we're not talking about HubSpot dropping the ball. Maybe one day we're talking about Flight Suite dropping the ball. It becomes so big.
I would love to get that aspect. I would love to be like where there's a disruptor trying to disrupt Flight Suite. Like, hey, that is one of my dreams. I pray to be disrupted.
Okay, well, you heard it here. So remember this in 10 years' time, people are going to come back and be like, you asked for this, Fitz. You asked to be disrupted. Here I am what even knows what the future holds in 10 years. But no, I love it. I love it. That's absolutely incredible. And also just, it's such a great, the gBeta program, obviously it's a free program to join. And to get to that point where it's helping to make that kind of like scaling, the vision, the realization is so incredibly cool. So, I mean, what is the future for you? I mean, do you know, like, you're going through gBeta, would you try and find another like accelerator or partner in the future to partner with? Any thoughts on that at this minute?
Yeah, so I think probably for going to Q4, Q1, definitely would like to start planning for a raise at that standpoint, primarily because we're expecting the extension to be done December 10th. Ideally, that would be like the showcase beta testing there. We can be able to test out with our existing customer base of 40 to truly refine it before actually being able to send it out to the market and get adoption that way. I think that next browser extension is truly going to be that next phase. And then being able to have that fundraising is going to just accelerate the growth of being able to get more market share. And I think it's going to be great from the aspect of we're not necessarily competing with other, I guess you could say, CRM systems. We're compatible with CRM systems. So it's like, hey, oh yeah, HubSpot, we're compatible with it. So that's going to be that goal. And then as well as we are hyper focused for Q4, Q1 of rolling out our CPA. I forgot what's the framing for it. Actually, we went through a branding exercise yesterday. It's a CPA AI tax assistant. And so it's going to be that AI tax helper for CPAs to truly get them through tax season, in terms of you're going to have a lot of inbound activity. Most CPAs don't have time to answer the phone during those, during tax season. This agent's going to be trained on federal tax law. Ideally, we'll be able to start working in state tax law in there as well. It's going to have that automation system so that it can capture client data, route it to the proper backend system for a CPA of whatever they're using to do that accounting work on. It's going to be able to send out basically notifications of, hey, here's what stage you're in. Here's what the tax deadlines are. Here's what documents we need from you, as well as make outbound calls to just inform people of, hey, your application has been submitted. We're still requesting this document from you. And then also having that component of where a client can call in and be able to say, hey, I saw this on my application. Why do you guys need this? And it'll be able to answer those, more like rudimentary questions or those typical FAQs without having to, work on the CPA's time. So we're trying to manage that client chaos that's going to inevitably come, as we know is coming in January, and help CPAs get ahead of that.
I love that. I love that so much. And I feel like as well, what's awesome about this is being able to like ride that wave of AI is just so helpful for adoption, right? Like, as you're saying that, I'm thinking, like I know a company that's doing this with mental wellness, right? Mental well-being, right? So it's called Plural. Shout out to Plural. But you can talk to this AI and it will give you, mental well-being tips and advice, and it will really like hear you talk about your problems, right? And then we've got one that's focusing on like the immigration space and like helping you kind of like navigate challenges with immigration. And so and obviously, you see it all online with ChatGPT and actually talking and having conversations. There's a voice for ChatGPT that sounds just like me, which feels like a lawsuit for me in the making, but it's not actually me. But you're starting to see these interactions with AI in a really useful and satisfying way that I think gets us beyond that the age, which was only like a year, but that age of chatbots where you get onto it and you immediately say human.
Yeah, human. I mean, even nowadays, I hate, one of the things I hate the most, just given how far we are with conversational AI, is when you call like your bank, right? You call your bank and you still get this very generic robotic system. And it's like conversational AI is so advanced nowadays. Why are we still on these old, outdated systems?
Yeah.
Why am I still having to, like, obviously I want a human, or what my issue is, after, if you don't get it right in the first 2 times, just direct me. Like, please just direct me directly to the human. that is it.
Yeah. Don't keep trying. Like, bless you, AI. You tried it and it didn't work. But no, at the same time, like you're talking about this CPA aspect to it. I've been in the US for a number of years now. Taxes work completely different in the UK. So coming to the US, I'm like a baby who's learning to do taxes for the first time. And you're trying to work with the accountant, and you can see how busy they are during that season and everything that they're trying to do at once. And there's almost, I feel like I had a situation where I had an appointment booked. I lost the confirmation. I needed to know when the appointment was. And you almost feel bad about picking up the phone because you know how busy they are. And you don't want to be that guy that's like, hi, I forgot when my appointment is. Can you tell me? And to that point where, like, if you've got that AI function there, it's improving, it's not just helping the CPA, but it's helping me as a customer as well, because I feel a little bit less bad about just asking questions that are going to help me turn up even more prepared, so that you are avoiding that situation where you turn up and you've forgotten this document or you've forgotten that. You've got someone there that you can have that kind of conversation with, especially if they're trained up, on tax law as well. That's really cool. I love that.
Yep, exactly. Or if you even think about just if you need additional or extra clarification, right? For a CPA that has this assistant, they could put this into, let's say, an Excel sheet or Airtable, like, hey, we need additional clarification from this person. The agent itself can make that call. Person does pick up. It's like, hey, we just want additional clarification on this component. Can you let us know? Like, the person can tell the agent drops it into that Excel sheet or drops it into wherever the CPA is storing the data. And now, okay, I can easily be able to use this information for what I'm doing, and I don't have to take time out of my day to stop servicing like other customers. So like you said, it's making life easier for the customer as well as the client.
Yeah. And especially I feel like after the event as well, where you're looking at your return and you're wondering, like, is that right? Could I have got a bigger discount there? Is there something that needs to be considered? I feel like if you're having that conversation with a trained, reliable AI, and the AI is like, nah, this is solid, you're good. You're like, okay, all right, I'll let it go. But if the CPA, you're thinking, I don't know, I want a second opinion.
Yeah, you're like actually, and I would say what's also great about it from a CPA standpoint, we're already pretty trained and used to talking with AI when it comes to the financial industry. So it's not too much of a jarring, like, transition. For example, banks have been using this for how long now? I mean, almost a decade of having some type of automated system. So it's already something that we're used to when it comes to financial knowledge. Most people, if you start talking financial knowledge anyway, they'll just be like, okay, this is a lot. So it just makes it easy for translating, like, here's this complex topic. Let's make it very, very simple so that, you all can so that people can understand it and be able to, get the information that the CPA needs.
Wow. I'm having an out-of-body experience where I feel like I'm old enough to remember, like, dial-up modem, right? Where someone's trying to, like, use the phone, but you're using the internet, and so you have to, like, hang up the phone just so they can use the internet. And I
I
feel like
remember that, man. What you mean? I remember that.
you remember that? Okay, good.
I remember that.
But I feel like I'm living in a moment now. So I've got a 2-year-old. I feel like I'm living in a moment where one day my son is going to say, "Wait a minute, you had to like call up the bank on the phone, and you'd sit there for like 45 minutes listening to like Greensleeves or whatever it was, waiting for a human to come through to answer your question." But yeah, that was the norm, right? You put it on speaker, you put it on mute, you put it on the desk, and then you carry on working until they come through to you. And it feels like maybe we're at the end of that. I don't know.
Well, it's funny because you said phone. Your 2-year-old's going to be like, "Wait, you had a what? What's that? You said phone?
Yeah.
You're telling me you guys didn't have this? It's like you didn't have the phone in your glasses? Like you couldn't dial through your glass? Like what are you talking about?"
Yeah, you could talk to people through it. What? You mean like a YouTube video? You could talk to videos? No. You could actually talk to your friend, like in the next room or whatever. Oh my God, I love it. Well, Fitz, thank you so much. I want a final question for you. I know we're at time. Final question for you. If you could give other founders one piece of advice, what would it be?
Okay, so other founders, piece of advice.
Any other founder, let's say they're 6 months in, right? They're brand new to building their company as well. Based on your experience so far, what would be that piece of advice that you'd give them?
Let's see. Right now in this kind of day and age, and just because of what I've gone through this week, I would say systems, having great systems in place, spending time to get systems in order will be worth it in the long run. And as much time as it takes to get those set up in the beginning, it is worth your peace of mind. And by systems, like have a sales process, have a customer success process, just have things documented. Because I guarantee you, when you start hiring people, when you start talking with just different individuals, it's going to make things a lot simpler, just because you can say, hey, here are the systems, here are our processes. And someone can easily come in and just audit like, okay, cool. This is your system. Here's what I would change or improve. Or a new hire could say, okay, I can follow this guide and know exactly what to do, as opposed to you hiring them and then not having time to train them.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. Yeah. Recipe for success or failure there if you don't do it properly. But as well, I think a part of that as well is having the confidence to think that this is going to get big quickly. And so I need to have those systems in place now, because when this thing does blow up, like I need to be ready to drop people into it and have them running as soon as they hit the ground. So Fitz, I love that advice. Thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people learn more about FlightSuite?
You can go to flightsuite.ai. That is the actual website. So make it very simple for you all.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Fitz, for being here today.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Steve.